from the UK, broadcasting around the world. You're listening to the Mic Drop Club, hosted by Douglas Hammond-Dishe. Message received. You do not need to know what you need. Just engage with the podcast feed. Providing weekly insights into cool stuff we've read, saw, did, or heard about what made us say, wow, eureka, damn, nothing is off limits. If it motivates and inspires you to reach your goals, then it shall be discussed. Featuring guest interviews from high performers and people of influence, and weekly awards for the best mic drop moment. This podcast is guaranteed to leave you pumped up for the week ahead. Don't just live life, make life boom.
How you guys doing out there? Black Friday, Cyber Monday is fast approaching. Some of you are thinking more about what can you procure over the next coming days. Some of you are not really focused on your goals, but right here on the Mic Drop Club, we're here always going to inspire you, always going to bring the fire in order for you to achieve those goals of yours, okay? So today is a good day. It's an extraordinary day, in fact, because I have Everton Barton in the house, guest for this show. And today we're going to talk about all things related to gaming. That's right. I know for some of you who are actually playing the PS4 right now, I need you to press the pause button just for a second, okay? And any parents out there who's thinking about what to buy their children for Cyber Monday, Black Friday, birthdays, Christmas, whatever the case may be, yeah? This conversation I'm going to have with Everton Barton is going to help you, for you to have a more informed outlook on what the gaming industry is all about, some of its challenges, how to spot signs that a child is either developing or already has a gaming addiction. What is a gaming addiction in itself? Okay. And Everton Barton, as being somebody that's proficient in gaming, this is a young person that has developed his own games in the past. He studied the psychology of gaming, and he provides consultative advice for parents who are trying to find out how best to support a young person that is exhibiting signs of gaming addiction. So as I was trying to pull together this interview, I was rattling around my brain in terms of what sort of questions and what title should I come up with in terms of the whole panacea that is gaming, because it's huge. Because when I was younger, gaming was, when I was really, really young, and I'm grey and I'm old now, but when I was really, really young, gaming wasn't really electronic as it is now. You know, there was a lot of board games. There's still gaming. There's still games. Mm. Then they turned like ping pong, you know, with the old Atari things, with the whole toggle. You know, I've seen things evolve to how it is now, when some of the games they're playing have so much artificial intelligence, all these terms that I don't know well. That's what Everton's here to keep me in check. He's going to keep me true, right? So I'm just going to lay the platform out there. I want to ask Everton a couple of questions just to get the dialogue going. And, you know, and obviously you guys out there, if you got any questions, and if you got, and you want further information, all the information or to get hold of us are going to be in the show notes. So please do reach out, because this is one of those subjects that all of us are involved with on some shape or form. Just go on the tube, anywhere around the world, board a bus, any transport, board a plane. You will find, I would say on average, 60-70% of the people who, no matter what age you are, they're going to be engaged in some sort of gaming. They're either going to be playing that Candy Crush type of game, okay? They might be just playing an app-based game, random game, but everyone's engaged in something. That's how it seems to me anyway. So I don't want anyone to think that gaming is not for me, but I guarantee you know somebody that's playing games right now in your family, okay? So you need to be able to understand some of the pitfalls when it comes to gaming. And also, let's take a look at, in the conversation, we're going to pick up points in terms of the rating on some games. Just like when I was young, I could turn on and watch a rated R, rated 18 film. Yes, I used to do it covertly. Yes, indeed. But some parents are actually buying 18 rated games for minors to play. And that's so irresponsible. Okay. So where's the enforcement of the laws to stop that from happening? Okay. Okay. All of these things we're going to unpack and to kick this off. Everton, how you doing and how's your week been?
I'm fine. It's been a good week. It's been an enlightening week. Anything particular happened? Did you have a mic drop moment this week? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new pieces of information that's coming out that I'm studying at the moment and trying to unpack it and understand it from a conceptual point of view. It's really been challenging, but yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
Cool. So in terms of the whole gaming, how did you get into gaming?
Oh, all right. So as a youngster, like most gamers, they start really young. We started when games were on home console. So Nintendo NES, Mario Brothers, games that inspired me, Legend of Zelda. These were the things that really got me into gaming.
Yeah. Yep. So can you reflect back on what was it about the game that got you drawn in? And how drawn in were you?
Okay. So just a little synopsis of it. My brother used to like playing gambling machines. I mean, we were young. It's funny because back when we were younger, gambling addiction in the how would I call it? Fruit machines. That's what it used to be called. So fruit machines didn't used to have...
They're the ones that make sounds like this, right?
Yeah. Sounds. Didn't have age ratings. I mean, it took a little while for age ratings to actually come into gaming. And it started with gambling machines.
Okay.
So that's really where some of the game addiction actually started.
Yeah, how long ago was this? Let's have a time frame.
Do we really want to start talking about ages here? So we're talking about the 80s here. We're talking about the early 80s.
The reason why I'm saying that is because there's a conception, the perception of what the gamer looks like.
Yeah.
If you ask someone on the road to describe somebody addicted to gaming, they will typically say...
someone with no friends, in the bedroom by themselves... antisocial skills.
There you go.
And it becomes the stigmatization of what a gamer actually
exactly is. So this is why I'm trying to frame it in a way that allows people to normalize and be able to understand, okay, gaming is more universal than what you think it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the games that got you hooked, what games were those?
Okay. So like I said, I started with, I liked arcade games. Now, for those who don't know what an arcade game is, it was a machine that you'd put coins in and you would get a limited period of time to play the game. You can complete it if you were very good at it. But one of the things that was really cool about arcade games is leaving your name on the leaderboard. So it was the first time games had a social aspect to them in a way that it was kind of, I don't know if the actual designers really thought about the social aspect, but
so what game?
What game?
Yeah, what game? What game drew you in?
So you had all right. So outside of the Pac-Mans and the Space Invaders and the Galaxians came the Shinobis, the Double Dragons,
with the elbow, with the elbow
and the headbutt.
You know, when you say double dragon,
you press the two buttons at the same time, you get the elbow. So there was a skill to it. So this don't like the Donkey Kongs, the Marios, and the Wonder Boys. Yeah. They all were skilled games, and this is what we call Twitch gaming. So it was all skilled games, but then games started to become a little bit more complex. And now, although gaming was always built at that point in time that it was for you to start putting coins into the machine, you know, they set you up to a point where you would definitely die. So you'd have to put more coins in. People started to break that pattern and started to become very, very proficient at playing the game. They wanted to get their name on that leaderboard. And if someone else had completed the game with one credit, that became the challenge. So it wasn't just about the game. It became that aspect of it. So in some ways, it started off that whole social experience within gaming. So it wasn't such an isolated experience.
Okay. So in terms of the leaderboard, the social aspect of gaming, what was your tag? What did you? Because I remember many moons ago doing this, and you only had 3 characters.
You only had 3 characters.
You know, so ice was prevalent. You know, so do you remember what was your gaming tag?
Yeah, it was always Ev, which was just EV.
Which is short for Everton.
It's just like, people come and say, "Oh, Ev's at the top."
Yeah.
And it would just, it would be that. It would just be EV
and then, so how did you feel? Okay, so you slotted in your coins on what game, for example, say Shinobi?
Yeah, and then Street Fighter. Let's go with Street Fighter, because that was like king at that point.
So Street Fighter, I think, is one of those games that everybody has. It is transcended the backstreet arcade. Yeah.
It changed the game.
Literally had its own film. I think it was starring Van Damme and who else? Kylie Minogue was in it.
Yeah, Kylie Minogue was in it.
Yeah. The film was trash.
Horrible film.
We can say that. No. I got to it again. That film gets no.
Bearing in mind that he turned down Mortal Kombat, which was a much better film than that.
Certain things cannot translate, right, into Hollywood, right? Street Fighter was one of those because there's some moves in Street Fighter that you cannot replicate. You know? The Dragon Punch. For those who know the Dragon Punch, when you see somebody try to do it in real life, it just looks whack. It's one of those things that is strictly in 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional space of a video game. So anyway, we digress. So you got your tag on there, right? So I'm assuming you're at school.
Yep.
School. So you go to school. Normal day at school.
Can't wait to finish school.
You can't. So what's happening now? Tell us what is happening to you.
Okay, so to understand the experience of being a gamer, especially at that period of time, this was a new type of storytelling. This is a new type of, in actual fact, this was beyond storytelling. This is interactive storytelling. So even with that these short breaks in the game where it may have about 15 seconds of a story, it's like a whole new world that you're experiencing. And so when the first time you experience an arcade game and you're like, oh my God, I'm the first one to play this game, or someone else had said, have you played that new arcade game? And I'm like, oh yeah, I just tried it the other day. There's this excitement, there's this adrenaline rush. It's something new and unique, but it's also taps into that geek side of you that loves new technology. So back then, games went hand in hand with new technology. It's like understanding computers.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I would turn around and say my first love with computers came from that.
But what is happening to you? You've got your name on the leaderboard and you're at school. Yeah. So what are you thinking about? Are you able to engage in education, or are you ruminating or fixating yourself on what's happening with your position on the leaderboard? See,
funny enough, I was never too worried about my position on the leaderboard, because it kind of felt like if I drop down to second, third, or fourth, I'll just play it again and get to like number 1 until you reach the point where you actually start meeting other people who are just better than you at that game.
So this is what you're
and just
the social side.
The social side of it.
Yeah.
So it was never ever one of those moments where it's like when I got to the top of the leaderboard, it was like, I want to keep there. I want to stay there. I want to make sure that no one else ever beats my score. No, I wasn't that type of gamer. I would get to the top and I'd be like, that's cool.
I was.
But what I would see, and I think that's where we start looking at different type of behaviors and dynamics in that behavior. Because if I was to compare myself to, let's say you, in an instance that you would want to see your name at the top, then I would want to play you. Yeah.
So that's a competitive side.
And that was the competitive side.
And it's still around the domain of being a social interaction type thing. Even though we are both now in school.
Yeah.
We played the arcade game, names on the leaderboard, moving up and down.
Yeah.
Okay. For some, that could be a distraction.
Yeah.
For some other people who are able to balance books and arcades. For the generation I'm coming from, I couldn't. To be honest, I couldn't. You might have. It was all consuming for me because as I am in class, and just pick Street Fighter, for example. Some of those moves are technical.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's something about muscle memory. So I'll be twitching imaginary joysticks in class. Yeah. Just so that when I do get my chance to go on the arcade, I can then put that to effect. And again, so there's a financial aspect to this because I walked everywhere. Why? I had money.
Because I spent money on the arcade games.
Go.
I'm glad you actually brought that up because whilst I'm listening to you tell me about your experience, and this is the funny thing that you're going to find out, if you try to put 20 people in a room and talk about gaming, their experience is going to be different. But it's going to have similarities, but it's going to be different. It's unique to each person. And for me, like I said, our situation is unique. I didn't really mind being at the top of the leaderboard, but what I did focus on is if you were at the top of the leaderboard, if I see someone that beats my score and they're there, then for me, beating them meant more than me being at the top of the leaderboard, because you can be at the top of the leaderboard, but you ain't played me. And that's how that behavior in gaming just kind of manifested and started to get bigger and bigger as I got older.
Yeah. So with the advent of technology and whereby in the past you might need to go to the arcade play games, there came a transitional point whereby those arcade games you could play at home. Yeah. Yes, the graphics were inferior, but what was happening then in that era? Okay. That transition.
Let me just switch something just before. We'll get back to that. Now, like you said, you were talking about a little bit of behavior in these games and where you ranked and all that kind of stuff. And I was saying to you, that never used to happen to me. But funny enough, games are unique. Each game is unique. So each unique game, and we're going to get onto this later on in the conversation, but each game being unique triggers a different behavior in people. Yeah. So I would turn around and say to you, the very first game that I was really proficient at was maybe Pac-Man. Then the next game I was really proficient at was Super Mario Brothers. The game that changed my behavior was Legend of Zelda. It did so many different things. It made me want to become a games designer. But if I go back to when I was younger and playing Legend of Zelda, where you thought about games at school, to doing the twitch movements, to figure out how you can do your Dragon Punch, I used to leave my game system on. Like I would go play it just before I go to school. And wherever I was in that game, I'd leave my game system on. I wouldn't turn it off. My parents would expect me to have turned everything off, because back then parents would be like, you ain't wasting electricity. But I would say that my fixation on that game meant that it triggered certain behaviors. When I go home from school, first thing I want to do is continue from where I've left off. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure. So you're I think you're illuminating the fact that you're slowly becoming more, or not dependent as it were. The game is now becoming more part of your routine.
Absolutely.
Now, at what point, and I'll be interested to find out if there are any definitions in terms of being addicted to gaming. Did you go for a period of time whereby you, and this is it's a deep question. Now you're an expert, obviously. Felt that you were addicted to gaming at any point.
Yeah,
that time.
Yeah, I would turn around and say it wasn't a full-on addiction, but I did find myself buying games that I weren't even playing. That's how much I loved games.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it doesn't even make sense. Like the game would still be in the package.
Let me just rewind that and just say that again one more time. That's a mic drop moment there, because a lot of us, when it comes to gaming, we assume people buying games and they play all day
long.
Okay, you just demyth that there. Say that again.
There are so many different types of behaviors that are happening in society all the time. Yeah. But in gaming, there was moments I'm spending £60 on a game and it's still packaged, and it's almost like the moment it came out, I had to have that game. And it became a situation where I had to have the game. not necessarily have to play the game.
Sure.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Sure.
So, like I said, certain things started triggering different behaviors. I mean, sometimes those behaviors still happen today. I remember games from yesteryear and they get re-released. I will buy that game, but I still don't play it. But I spent the full money on that game. Do you see? But I had to have it. But then once I got it, then I played it too many times already. So, and I will still have that game.
Sure. So what definitions are there out there in terms of gaming? And what is actually called in terms of somebody that relies on gaming and is having a negative impact on their ability to live out to their full potential? So what definitions are out there?
Well, the World Health Organization, they describe it as gaming disorder. Okay. And that just is like a pattern of behavior that either impairs you in some fashion, or it's the way of changing that behavior, your natural and normal behavior. Now, if you haven't got a lot of money and you see something that you like, you will weigh up. A rational mindset would weigh up the pros and cons of whether they will purchase that or not.
Sure.
Yeah, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Mm-hmm. would be played in effect. But in gaming, sometimes when things are supposed to be rational, they become irrational, but you rationalize it. Do you see what I'm saying?
You might need to explain that a bit more.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Check this as a concept. Yeah. You don't actually need that thing, but for some reason you rationalize that you do need it. But when you get it, and after you spent money on it, you don't do nothing with it.
Sure.
But you don't feel guilty about buying it. In actual fact, you rationalize it as a collection, and therefore it sits there. But you could be broke.
Sure. And I think that could be true for many things outside of gaming. I used to DJ, and there are many records that I never ever took out the sleeve.
Yeah.
I still got them to today. Never took them out.
Never taken them out of the sleeve.
Never played them.
And this is the thing. So it's not that these disorders are specifically, if it wasn't for games, these disorders wouldn't exist. These disorders exist in other facets of life.
Sure, but in terms of the gaming addiction, what is the tipping point for it to be now a disorder? In terms of what they're looking at?
All right. So, like I said, in the World Health Organization looks at it as this. If you start to neglect yourself, I mean, this is the definition is going to be very similar to many other types of addictions. It's just that it is specific to that individual and their relationship to gaming. For example, so let's say your everyday activities. In actual fact, I'll give you a better example. Mm-hmm. You're sitting at home. You're supposed to go to work, but you do not feel motivated to go to work, but you'll sit in front of your computer game and play all day. You get yourself fired, but you still sit in front of the computer game and play all day. You are no longer functioning normally. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's anything that is counterintuitive to your life and progress. You're effectively stopping things that you should be doing.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate because with a view to help illuminate and get people to understand what we mean by gaming addiction, okay? You got the observer. That could be the parent, could be the loved one, taking a look at somebody that's spending all the time gaming. Yeah. Okay. Now to the gamer themselves. Okay. And in terms of their life chances and life opportunities and activities of daily living, you quoted Maslow there. Yeah. If I decided, say for example, I'm the gamer, I'm now meeting the definition according to the World Health Organization. Yeah. But I say to you, I actually don't want to bath this morning. I actually didn't want to go to work this morning. That's why I'm playing the gaming. What sort of things would it take for me being addicted to gaming to then realize, oh my God, this now is now snowballed. I can't control this. I now have a real problem.
Okay. 2 families, it would be an intervention. There is, once someone starts to snowball at that level, more than likely their awareness is going to be impaired. You got to remember, when you're talking about addiction or any form of disorder, the person is impaired at that point in time. So thinking that you're going to be able to get yourself out of this scenario is like one in 100. Yeah. There will be a 1 in 100 person who will be able to, who may have that light bulb moment that's, no, this isn't working for me. But for the rest, no, it's going to require an intervention. And if you're living by yourself, that's a problem. And that's going to be a real problem because most people won't even notice. So you need to be around people anyway that is who care. So especially when you're dealing with a child, their parents. If you're a parent and your child is upstairs playing computer games all day, every day, you have to intervene at some point. You have to be in check. You have to be in touch with your child. You cannot just leave your child to be playing computer games.
Sure. And so in terms of the scale of the problem, what's the order of magnitude? Do you know roughly?
Well, the thing is, all research that we've seen so far, can't tell the difference between an excessive gamer and a person with game addiction.
Okay. So again, the two terms there. What do you want to
let me just explain. Let me explain. So think of a sport. Yeah. And how many hours? How many hours does it take to be proficient? Is it 5,000 hours?
You got the 10,000.
10,000 hours. Yeah. So 10,000 hours to be proficient at any sport. Yeah. That's what, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 4 years. That's a degree. Yeah. In actual fact, that's a master's. 3 years for the degree, 1 year for the master's. Now you're proficient at that sport. Yeah. Or whatever it is that you're doing. In gaming, it's exactly the same. You know, you're putting in a lot of time to become proficient at one specific game. Yeah. Now that can demonstrate signs of game addiction in the layman's eyes. You're on the game. That's all you're doing. That's all you're thinking about. But the key thing is, are you neglecting yourself? Now, people who are proficient at gaming don't always neglect themselves, but they do prioritize gaming over everything else. Yeah. But someone with a game addiction neglects themselves for the addiction. Yeah. So you will see signs that they would rather do nothing else but sit in front of that computer game. And even at times where you're sitting in front of that computer game, you can end up having a low. So you're still sitting in front of the game, but you're not really playing it. It's almost like the game is watching you. And so these are some of the signs that, you know, if you just looked at gaming activity, it would say, yeah, playing the same amount of time. But are they playing?
Sure. I've just been Googling how many gamers in the UK. And probably there might be an issue in terms of the definition. I'm not too
what
sure.
A gamer is.
Exactly, because you quoted two different types. Okay. So it says 32.4 million gamers in the UK. Right. That's a lot. That's half the country, literally. Right. Which is acknowledged as being a gamer. Yeah. Okay. Worldwide.
There's a huge amount. If they include PC gamers and mobile gamers, you're talking about maybe 1.5 billion people play computer games. Of some fashion.
Of some sort. That's quite a lot. And you understand, half the world is developing. So if you minus those, there's a lot of people out there
that have access to gaming.
Yeah. So the order of magnitude is huge. It's a big sizable sum of people playing games. Yeah. But in terms of the ramifications for being a gamer, how does this impact on society? Okay. Or does it impact on society?
It does, because first and foremost, gaming is a profession. Yeah, it is now a profession.
So again, when when your mind is just blown, it's just blown. Okay. Yeah. So Everton just said gaming is a profession. So at what point does it become a profession? Because in my understanding, a profession is something that pays you.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Right. So at what point do you become a profession?
All right.
At what point? And it's the institution of gaming because, again, a profession normally would indicate that there's a professional body.
Absolutely.
Like if you're an electrician, you subscribe to the school of electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, computer, all of those stuff. There has an institution that governs what it means to be a professional in that.
Yeah.
So what's happening in the gaming? Is there something I've been missing?
Yeah. Gaming has always had different types of bodies. In the UK, we got UKIE, who are the UK interactive entertainment body. And in other countries, you'll have different types of bodies. You've got the rating bodies as well. So games can't just come out and not be looked at before they reach the store shelves, because that's how we get games ratings. So we know what type of content there is inside the games. But there's different types of bodies that exist. But when it comes to like pro gaming,
so that I think now you're making a distinction.
Yeah,
because you're 7-year-old playing video games in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I don't think that's a professional.
No. So a 7-year-old playing in the park, playing football is not a professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how do we have the funny thing that we've been postulating in the games industry is how do you define, because I've heard presenters from different sports saying, computer games, that's not real sport. It's not real sport. So what is a real sport? Yeah. How does a sport become a sport instead of it just staying as a hobby? Well, first and foremost, you need an audience. Yeah. And once you've got an audience, the second thing is, can you monetize that audience? And if you can then monetize that audience and they will pay to watch you compete, that's a sport. Doesn't matter whether it's chess, because there might be some people out there that say, American football's a real sport, or football in the UK, which Americans call soccer. Yeah. That's a real sport. But chess isn't a real sport. But chess has had an audience for years. People would pay to watch that. Now, when you talk about pro gaming has an audience that almost far exceeds so many established sports that everyone's jumping in on it. Like literally everyone is starting to jump in on it. And so while you were talking about who's the body, there is a kind of a problem here, because this part of the industry is so new that type of stuff is being formalized right now. There's a university in Stratford University does a degree and a master's in eSports. You know, that's how fast this industry is growing.
Again, so this is a jargon-free show.
All right, so let me just make this clear.
eSport? Is it like an e-car?
Exactly. The E is electronic. So this is electronic sports. So think about, I'm going to go back 10 years. Yeah, 10, 15 years. Yeah. The idea that computer games could be a sport was a joke, because the first thing they said, what makes you an athlete? Yeah. And that was the key thing. What is it that makes you an athlete? Yeah. And then, like in all sports, there has to be some form of measure. And it's like you just said earlier, 7 years old. How's that? How is he a pro gamer? Well, in actual fact, he's speed and response time on playing those games. It's the milliseconds between moving left to right and pressing that button that makes that action take place on the screen. Is the difference between your skill level and my skill level.
Yeah. That's when the young person has made the conscious decision to take gaming seriously. So if you take this scenario whereby your child is playing a game and they turn around and tell you, Dad, Mom, I'm a pro gamer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. At what point do you as a parent, let me reframe that and rewind that. In terms of the support, and I think Everton raises a lot of groundbreaking
flags here
and there. But in terms of when you actually have your kid now, and schools are saturated with exams, pressures to perform, you know, outside of the electronic, digital arena, you know, how then do you as a parent balance up
this act? All right. That's a super question. Yeah. That's a super question.
That's why I'm the host.
That's why you're the host. Okay. So I have to take a deep breath because I'm about to try and like go hard on this, and I'm hoping that you lot can keep up the pace with me. All right, parents use, this is the same conversation, and it's funny that how conversations get recycled into new fields. Parents who said, you're not going to be a singer. There's a million singers out there. You'll never make it out there. And the kid goes on and makes it. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's because the child is doing something the parent doesn't understand. Yeah. Parents like you to follow in the paradigm of what they understand. Yeah. I worked every day of my life doing this thing, and that's how you make money. What you are trying to do, there's no job in there. Yeah. Well, there's no job in it right now, but that's where innovation comes in. Yeah. Your child is trying to break into something innovative and become a pioneer. And that's the hardest thing for any parent to deal with, is a child doing something they don't understand. And this is what happened in gaming. So this brings me to the Fortnite competition. This is the World Cup of Fortnite.
And so what is Fortnite?
So Fortnite is this.
Somewhere it's Cyber Monday in a couple of days' time.
Kids know this. Kids know this,
but you know,
parents
some of you out there need to understand what Fortnite is.
Yeah.
Even though you might be, as what we say, a laggard.
Yeah.
A laggard is somebody that is not a fast follower, right? That's the last on the bell curve. You follow the masses. You're the last one to the party, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. All right. So there's a few concepts that you got to understand. The first one is something called freemium. If you do not know what freemium is, you've got two words here, free and premium. And it's stuck together called freemium. What that means is a game comes out for nothing, but then monetizes you whilst you're playing.
So the game is free, right? Mm-hmm. Again, monetization, I understand that fully. A lot of parents don't understand the implications of monetization. Of what a monetized game is. Could you break down some of the
key components?
Key components, and also some of the things that a parent needs to be aware of. You've got your 7-year-old playing a free game that's been monetized. Then they ask you for your bank details.
Absolutely.
What's happening?
So first things first, there is no such thing as free. Like nothing is free. Facebook is not free. They make money off of your details, your things that you're doing. So nothing is free. So when someone gives you something for free, they are going to monetize it in some other fashion.
Correct. But this is now the direct monetization from the individual.
All right. So
Facebook and all these other organizations from Google, they've been dragged to court, kicking and screaming.
Absolutely.
Because they've been illegally mining data. Mining data. Right. But they have not been taking my bank details. At least not directly. I don't know about that.
You don't know.
But in terms of the gaming, as you called
it. So
what does that mean?
Absolutely. So there's a few problems with this, and I wouldn't be surprised in a few years that you'll see companies being pulled to court for exactly the same thing. The game is free. That means free to access. Yeah. And that's the only part of what it is that's free. So you can play the game without paying anything.
Sure.
But then comes the eye candy, the things like gear. Gear is things that your character might wear. Think of it as clothes, hats, shoes, weapons, different types of things. Most things not to do with competitive advantage, but just wardrobes.
Okay, so this is all to do with personalizing your character. So it would be your own persona.
It would be your own
that virtual space.
Absolutely.
Am I right to recall an incident with Carlton from Fresh Prince suing, trying at least to sue Fortnite for this dance steps? Did he win?
No.
He didn't win. Okay, fine. That was just a side note. I just caught that in my radar.
Yeah. And it wasn't just Carlton. It was the guy from Scrubs, the doctor.
Oh,
who did the dance step. And it's the core dance step. That's for
because how can you then patent or copyright a dance move?
Oh, you actually can.
Which you didn't invent yourself.
Absolutely, you didn't invent the dance step, but he could have won if he had created the routine. Because just like gym, if you do dumbbells, blah blah blah, in a sequence, and you call it what's that thing that John T did? He did Insanity. You call it Insanity. That is patentable. But you didn't create it. Someone choreographed that for you. So you wouldn't be able to sue for that. But yeah, that we're digressing here. Here's the thing. So a company suddenly sends these shiny things. So far as you're concerned, your kid is playing a free game. Yeah. The problems that is arising is not your kid coming to you and saying, can I have your credit card? The problem is the back door to funding these games. And one of the back doors that we recently found out was that you could use your mobile number to buy those accessories, and it would circumvent your parents ever knowing that you're using a credit card. All that would happen is your phone bill would go up, and that is shocking.
Yeah. That is very shocking. When I got quiet, it's only because I'm trying to process what you're saying. But so it does it work a bit like Candy Crush? Does Candy Crush have a way of doing that? Because a lot more people understand Candy Crush.
Right. So let me just explain to you again. Yeah. So just so that people understand this.
Go ahead.
There are processes in some of these games that would allow you to purchase more points using your mobile number. And what it will come up on your bill, and you'll know this, is your child's phone bill comes up with data charges that exceeds your data. So you would think the first time you think, oh my God, my kid's running up the data. Like as in he or she is using the Wi-Fi out on the road and running up the data. But it isn't actually that. They can use their phone number to purchase stuff.
Sure.
So it's like dialing a premium number and they get that credit back on there.
Sure. And I think this is the danger of anything that's new. There's always comes with new a lack of enforcement of certain laws, because the laws have not been written to take into consideration some of these new ways of gaming or whatever the case may be. But I just want to go back to the bank card, because I think that is something that people can really relate to. Okay. And I think when we buy gifts, I keep mentioning Cyber Mondays, whatever the case may be, we tend to think, and I'm talking for the unison here, that I bought my kid, or I buy myself a game that cost me even nothing, or say £50, right? Now, because of this monetization thing that's going on, and say you bought a £50 game for your child, you're thinking it's done. They've got your bank details, and a lot of websites ask you, do you want to save your bank details? Yeah, so you don't have to input it all the time. Kids don't like going back asking parents for the card all the time. So chances are, if it's a savvy, techie kid, he'll have it saved, right?
Absolutely.
Right? So the total cost of ownership for the game can go exponential.
Absolutely.
So in terms of now, people that come, for example, from socially deprived areas, that can have a real damaging effect. Absolutely.
The most vulnerable.
Exactly. And do you think the gaming industry preys on the vulnerable?
Absolutely.
So what can be done, and what is being done currently? Are there any investigations being done to try and curb that?
Okay. Gaming industry, it's tough when you use the term gaming industry, because there's a lot of businesses that are coming into the gaming industry for the sole purpose of monetizing that community without even providing them with that full content or gaming experience. The gambling industry came into the gaming industry, and what they did was they bought the rights to Disney's characters, to Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes and all of that type of stuff, and put it on gambling machines. The government had to step in because they were attracting kids into actual gambling. Yeah. And then when some of the games companies, we're not going to mention the games companies' names, but very big publishers started thinking, oh, that was a clever idea. Well, let's modify that and put it into gaming, and came up with the idea of loot crates. And what a loot crate is imagine you just bought a game. You spent £60 on this game. And then to get some of the weapons that are in that game, you get something called a loot crate. And what that is like a crate that has a random weapon in it. Yeah? Okay. But you have to buy these loot crates. But you don't know what you're going to get. But you get the promise that you may get a legendary weapon. How much loot crates do you have to open to get that weapon? How much money are you spending to get that weapon? This was the same thing that happened with the football games and the cards. How much money did your kids spend on these
Panini cards.
Yeah.
I listen, quick story. This is something that I'm going to share with you guys out there.
Yeah.
I know we go worldwide, but this is for anyone that follows the Premiership, and they always ask me, why do I support Liverpool? And I live like 300 miles away from Anfield. The reason is very, very quickly. When I came to this country, one of the first things my father did for me, right, was try to get me to, I wasn't speaking good English then. I wasn't speaking any English, and stop being bullied. They thought, okay, all these kids are buying these football Panini cards things where they're like stickers. You get a football album with your favorite teams, of all the teams actually. And then what you do is you buy a pack of cards. It typically has 6 cards in it, and then you put the stickers in the book, and you try and collect all the teams across the whole season, right? So my dad bought me a packet, right? And I didn't understand the whole concept. I didn't even understand what football really was, right? I was in the playground, and it feeds into what you're talking about in terms of parents keep buying you these stickers, right? So I was watching the things going on. I was seeing people opening their packets and having hoorah and everything. Like, you guess what? You got blah blah blah. You got display, all that stuff. So I'm watching it. Couldn't engage, but I knew in my hand. Guess what?
Go on.
I got my own packet, right? So I thought, what do I need to do? This is how the social interaction in terms of stuff. So I had no friends. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna open it. So I raised my hand up in the playground, and everyone now saw that I got a packet. And I opened it. And to cut a long story short, right? All I remember was being rushed to the floor. I'd opened it, right? And I remember a flash of gold. And the next thing I'm on the floor looking at the sky, and one of the teachers in the playground's pulling these kids off me, all that kind of stuff. But I was stubborn. I was holding on to one card, the gold one. The other ones, the kids
don't care about.
So the teacher said, Douglas, are you okay? Yeah, I was fine. I was crying. And I told him about, I've kept the shiny one. I kept the shiny one. I couldn't speak English, so I said, I kept the shiny one. Imagine saying that in an African accent. I kept the shiny one. And the teacher said to me, do you know what card that is? And he got more excited that I had it. And I was looking at him, I could see the twinkle in his eye. And I'm thinking, why is this guy getting so excited about what's in my hand? Is it real gold? He goes, no, that's Liverpool's badge. And that is why I support Liverpool. Yeah. I don't like to give you a bit extra on the mic drop club. That's what happened. And I'm a Liverpool fan ever since. But in terms of what Everton's talking about, this monetization, that it's not just in gaming that it's happened. They were doing it before in terms of the stickers, right? But in terms of what safeguards, what can a parent do themselves to
understand what it is.
To protect their own wallet. First of all, to protect their own wallet. Can you put a limit, for example, with your bank to say, okay, fine, if it's for Fortnite or any other game, is there cash spend or whatever?
Do you know what? People I've known who have had these type of problems that we've had to sit down and counsel or talk to in relation to these issues have told us so many different stories. You talk to your mobile phone company. Like I said to you, mobile phone companies will allow you to use your mobile number and add it on as your data. This is something that most parents need to know when they give their kids a mobile phone. The mobile phone companies won't stop it. Why would they? This is easy money for them. You know, the games companies love it because it's extra income. Some of these games companies are not selling as many games as they would like. So this is alternative monetization. And that in itself causes problems. Quite a few companies have good game ethics, but when it comes to business, if they have shareholders, then ethics goes out the window.
Sure.
You know, it is do it until you can't do it. And that is the problem with the games industry at the moment. But that's not just the games industry. That's like most industries.
So are you saying certain games are also introducing young people to gambling?
Absolutely.
Because they don't know.
They don't know any different. I mean, this may be their first exposure to gambling. If you don't know what, I mean, think of it like this. In gaming, Yeah, the dangers when it comes to gaming is in most cases about winning. Yeah. So when you mix gambling with the idea of winning, there's that distortion about whether this is right or wrong. Yeah. The behaviors of the individual can easily gravitate to, but this is just, or rationalizing as this is just another way of winning.
Sure. So it could be the back door into
absolutely
inheriting and taking on other more dangerous addictions.
Absolutely.
Such as full-blown gambling.
Gambling.
Whereby, say for the smoker, or who I'm talking stereotypically here, a lot of people fear smoking cigarettes because they might proceed to harder stuff, the marijuana and all that other kind of stuff. It's like a gateway.
It's a gateway.
So again, let's part that, because I think it's hard for us to take it further.
Yeah, it's a conversation in itself.
Yeah, and also the fact that there's not a lot of international legislation. This is going to be different for country to country. But the fact that we're recognizing it now, and parents out there, you need to not just buy your kids a game. Understand what the game is all about.
Absolutely.
Okay. Read it. Read the packaging. Yeah?
Or even see, spend some time with your kid while they're playing a game. That's the only way you're going to understand what it is. But also, I know this is going to lead into another important part of the conversation. If you want to know what it is that your kid is playing, spend some time with your kid while they're playing it.
Buy your kid games
and to just leave them.
You don't do that. You know?
That's like getting a 5-year-old, putting an R or 18 rated movie, and let them sit down and watch it and by themselves. I mean, why would you do that? You need to be able to understand, because if your kid's got questions, who are they going to ask? If they have to find those questions out for themselves, they'll always find questions out for themselves. They will no longer need you. Yeah, you are, as the parent, the first gateway to their behaviors. You're the first gateway. What kind of mannerisms they're going to pick up. The more absent you are, something else has to fill that void. Whether it's by themselves, whether it's their friends' behaviors. Because, as kids grow up, more than 50% of their time is with their friends. 50% of their time of their influence is going to come from their friends. And if their friends are the same age as them, then their friends don't know any better.
Yeah. So again, in terms of the gaming side of things, like pros and cons, we haven't actually really broken down. We've talked about gaming addiction, but okay, let's go with the positives first. Right? What positive skills can somebody get from gaming?
Okay, so gaming, there's so many good things that can come out of gaming. Especially, we can start with the hand-to-eye coordination, which is going to be useful in later life. If you want to become a doctor or any of those kind of things, there is so much studies that show that surgeons, skilled surgeons, even skilled aviators, people who are required to do maneuvers at very quick speeds, gaming really does prepare you for that type of stuff. But gaming also opens up your mind to new narratives and understanding narratives based on what the designer is trying to articulate to you. And that's amazing in itself. Also problem solving. These are key skill sets that you're going to need in later life. And because we're becoming more and more digitally oriented, we are digitally oriented beings now. Everything that we got, everything we consume comes from a digital device. People are consuming more content from their mobile phone than any other source of technology on the planet. There's more people with mobile phones than any other technical equipment in their space. So gaming is going to give you that edge, just like back in the day. Yeah. And I know Douglas can really resonate with this. Back in the day, parents used to say, read books, forget computers, because they didn't understand computers. As far as I can say, you will always need to read books. And that's true to some extent. But some of those children grew up without knowing how to use a computer. You can't get a job now if you don't know how to use a computer. Yeah, reading those books is good. You could be academically smart and all those kind of things, but you need IT skills. In today's era, you need more than just IT skills. Game, in actual fact, there's a word that they use called gamification. And that's like, the amalgamation of gaming with something else. What you do in your day-to-day life, what you're doing on the computers. And a lot of the software that you are seeing now, the ones that manage how well you're doing, is classed as achievements. Achievements are in games. With games, when you do something, a milestone, you get an achievement. And these are things that are now being, absorbed into your everyday life.
I think I agree with quite a few there. I'll challenge you on a couple.
I expect nothing less from you.
Books are the foundation.
Of course.
That trumps every single thing. And it's in the name.
Yeah.
It's in the name, the definition. I think gaming is a game. Look at the definition of what a game is. A game is not going to prepare you for life as it is. You can learn a lot about social skills by the way people play games. You can do. But there's something special about in solitude that you read and you obtain knowledge that allow you to understand things on a far deeper level.
Absolutely. There's self-sufficiency there.
Yeah, there's self-sufficiency there. But then, so the positives I'm getting out there in terms of the hand-to-eye coordination you mentioned, understanding different people's narratives, problem-solving skills you mentioned, and the gamification, how they turn anything into a game. The life that we live, this is the Mic Drop Club, life is serious, okay? Things happen, okay? Now, while you're in that quagmire, you're in that zone, okay? Is there anything you're missing as an individual? There was an article the other day about China and I think China and Japan, whereby they got a real problem with their gamers. Yeah, it's not just gaming now, it's gaming and internet addiction, whereby these young people, right, they are having more virtual relationships than they are doing in the physical world. So I'm talking about social skills, yes. And I've played a few games with my cousins, and I know I'm fighting somebody in a different part of the world.
Yeah.
But the ability to go out and to have interaction with somebody real in front of you.
Absolutely.
You can't get that
from a game. You
have to get that from interaction.
Absolutely.
Being able to pass your job interview when you are seeing face to face. Some job interviews you can do on a webinar. I've been on those things already on Skype. But the best employers want to see you face to face.
Okay. But society's changing. And this is the problem. Nothing that you have said is wrong. Yeah. Do not take this in any other way. Nothing that you've said is wrong. Books are important. Games can be books. Games can have book elements. In actual fact, majority of the original games, you had to read huge amount of text. Yeah, so certain games that are popular take away from that. But there are games that still stick with that narrative-based reading, logical thinking, how to figure out, problem solving, all of these key things. You can find in games. Mathematics, you'll find them in games. Do you see what I'm saying? So, but the problem that you're addressing here is it's not that what you said is wrong for these younger audience who might be listening to this. It's that their perception of reality, because society is changing. Society is moving in that direction. Maybe we're becoming dinosaurs, and that is the new norm.
Exactly. That could be the point. That could be the way people are evolving. But then that's not evolving as a species, because if you're not meeting people, if you're not having children, you're not having relationships, you're not evolving. You're putting a full stop on to your bloodline anyway. So in terms of
in the extreme sense of what you're saying, I can understand what you're trying to point at.
The concerns that if you go right back to the stereotype, and the stereotype of somebody that's addicted to gaming is you're trapped in you spend all the time in your room. You have no social skills. Yeah. This is where again the whole term geek comes into the negative, and being a geek should be the coolest thing out there.
absolutely.
You understand? But it has the negative connotation of out there because people ultimately assume gaming, you're a geek, you're either on the autistic spectrum, you've got no social interaction skills, and you're stuck behind a keyboard or a joystick. Yeah. Now, what needs to change, as far as I'm concerned, is people that are able to successfully game, and live a full and productive life. Okay. In the context, because everybody's goal is different. Yeah. Everybody's aspiration is different. Okay. But you talk about alleviating fears in say you're a child, relieving your parents' fears, and parents always ask, give me an example of somebody, of something that will support you staying in your bedroom for 8 hours of the day gaming. Okay. And then at the consequence of your education, for example, they need to come up with those things. So people who are successful have to be champions for gaming. That's the right word. Yeah. People need to who are benefited from gaming champion it a lot more, because I don't see a lot of that. All I see is the stereotype image of the gamer still being prevalent, which is something that I think has to be addressed. Because that's why the fear comes in. Because if you, as a parent, you cannot gamble. You shouldn't gamble your children's future based upon what their children want. There's no point you being a parent then. Yeah, you understand? You're a parent because you have to put your children on a course as best as you know it. Everton makes a very, very telling point in terms of, he's saying that when it comes to gaming, you have to be there with your children. Absolutely. You understand? The game is not the babysitter for your child. You understand? Yeah, I've seen it many times. Even people driving, the kids are all engaged on iPads. They come in the house, they're having dinner, they're all engaged on iPads, all gaming. That is not the type of gaming I think is quality. No, and the thing that people also got to recognize is, if a child sits in front of a computer game all day, every day, game addiction is not even likely to occur. Game addiction starts to occur when other factors, social factors, personal factors that are, that merge into one thing and then become your reality, triggers that game addiction. Do you see what I mean? Because part of it is escapism. Do you see what I mean? So part of it is, so there are so many different other factors that will, that will influence whether you become addicted to gaming. But gaming itself, by itself and in isolation, and I think there's quite a few studies that demonstrate that gaming by itself, even if you do it excessively, by itself will not trigger game addiction. Okay. Is there a healthy time for gaming in terms of how long should a parent typically leave their children to play a game? Sometimes you cannot be there the whole duration. No. Sometimes they have to play these games on their own anyway. So absolutely. Is there any healthy, or does the industry give advice on what is healthy gaming habits? Well, again, like I said, gaming by itself in isolation doesn't trigger game addiction. It's your social environment, what is happening in your home. So let's say, for instance, you hit a nail on the head earlier. You said parents have to be involved. And you said, I agree with parents have to be involved in their game, but parents can't be sitting with their child 24/7. That's not what we're asking. But what we are saying is, from the moment you introduce your child to something, any type of hobby, you have to play a role in it. You have to ration. You have to ration it. You cannot say you can stay all day playing a computer and you will not get addicted. Of course you will. You stay doing something all the time, all day, you will get addicted to it. No, you may even end up getting bored of it. But what I'm saying to you is, no, if you just let someone just sit in front of something for God knows how long, no, they may just look at it. They may not play it. They may play it. You can't say definitely if you just left someone there all day, they're going to do that. Studies show that doesn't always happen. Okay. But like you said, if your social environment leaves you with that level of seclusion. So it isn't just your child playing the computer game. It is what else is happening. What other factors are happening in the house? Are you just
neglecting your child. This is why it becomes really tough.
This is no. Don't apologize. This is the reason why, Everton, you're on this show, because you bring that sense of clarity, okay? And you bring the realness to this debate, and that's what it's about, because it is emotive. It is a subject that touches the heartstrings on many people.
Yeah, I'm not trying to call out people saying bad parenting or any of that.
If you don't call them out.
It's just, but it is the first thing that you would understand if a child is got game addiction is that there is neglect. Yeah,
exactly. That deserves. It is neglect, and neglect means you are not providing a child, or you're restricting the child access to what it needs to prosper.
Absolutely.
Okay? You're neglecting them. Okay. So just by that, having a child that can spend all day gaming, you know they're neglecting studies. Whether they're playing it or not is irrelevant. That's a form of neglect. This is why I was trying to say, in terms of time, is an hour enough? Some of these games, as you said, they are monetizing. So for them to get to the next level, they might need to buy a certain piece of weaponry.
Absolutely.
Right? So they might need to wait for dad or mom to come back home, to activate the card so that they can get that piece of weaponry. Or they've already got the card details. But either way, there's now dependencies on them progressing that's outside of their actual skill set.
Absolutely.
Because you could be as dexterous as you like. But certain levels require certain machinery, certain tools, which you have to pay for or gamble to go and get them.
Absolutely. So again, parents, I pose this question. Yeah. You would buy a game for a child that you do not know nothing about. Yet when you buy something for yourself, you make informed decisions. So how does that work?
It works on this premise, right? We're older. We're parents. We're old. Older. Kids are younger. So they're just that virtue means they're going to like things that you don't like. It's just the way it is. All right. So
this isn't about like. When
you're buying it for your kids, right?
No, but even when you buy presents for other people, it feels like when it comes to games, we kind of just say to ourselves, I don't know nothing about games. And then that becomes your excuse. I don't know nothing about games, so I'll just buy the game for...
That's a good point, because I think that mindset is normally a technophobe mindset.
Yeah.
You find that will transcend into IT skills, basic IT skills. You don't have them. And many people are terrified of IT and technology.
Absolutely.
I've seen it when we try to digitize the health service with computers. Overnight, nurses, doctors, physicians, whatever the case would be, felt de-skilled. And this is what a parent can feel when they're buying
a computer
their kids. Before the computer game, it comes a console.
I've had parents.
It comes a console, and that can elicit a certain level of helplessness in a parent, and therefore I used to work in cars as well.
I worked in,
and I could spot their parents not knowing what console to buy their kid.
When someone comes in and says, "Can I have a Super PlayStation?"
But what does it mean?
Yeah. All right. So it's like one of the things that you understand is that when some parents come in, you're right. Technology, there is a fear. There's a complete. You can just even the jutter. They come in and I think it's and they give you two different console names, or they give you two game names that belong to, but they're not sure which.
Playbox.
Yeah.
You know what? I should actually mic drop that. Yeah. You heard it live on the Mic Drop Club. Yeah. The Playbox. Yeah. That's my new console coming out. A hybrid between the Xbox and the PlayStation. The Playbox. Heard it live and direct.
A Playbox switch.
Yeah. But Playbox.
But you see, we laugh about those things.
Playbook.
It's got
the Playbook. The Playbook. A video game in a book.
But there've been video games in
Name one.
In a book.
Name one.
Function. It just didn't sell well.
Name it.
Well, now we got an iPad.
Okay, fine. Everton's going to provide the details in the show notes. Sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
But see, again, this is a wonderful conversation because when you're dealing with parents and parents not understanding what the system is, so a child's telling us, "Mom, I want an Xbox." An Xbox One X, and the parent gets to the store and says, "Oh, I need a Play One X or PlayStation One X or PlayStation X." And games person says, "Which one is it? The Xbox or the PlayStation?" I can't remember. They're never going to make an informed decision on any game because they haven't taken any time to even understand what it is that their child's hobby is in. And people are busy. I get that. People have different lives and people don't even half the time even have real interest. But if you don't have an interest in what it is that your kid actually enjoys or wants to do, you can't turn around and start blaming other companies or blaming other people for things that you are not prepared. Because that's the key thing. You're going to buy this. At least be prepared to look up or find out what this actually means.
Sure, but in defense of the parents out there, in defense of the parents out there, or even the person wanting to buy games, some of it is terminology.
Yeah,
talk about X-Wing, robots, all these synonyms and all that kind of stuff. The language needs to be simpler. Debunked and simpler for the layman to understand.
All right.
Okay. All right. That's all I'm saying. This is what I give an example.
Go on.
Give an example.
Go
on. Quite a few months back, I broke down on the motorway. Car wasn't working, so I had to contact RAC breakdown service. Breakdown service phoned me up, said, "Oh, Douglas, what's happening to the car?" Now I don't understand. Even though I'm an engineer by background. I don't understand what was going on with the car. And I'm describing things as basic. I'm just saying smoke. Okay, they were naming things. I didn't understand what those components were. So it was fine. So they sent somebody out and the guy came and he knew the technical issues that were plaguing my car at the time.
Yeah.
But he was confident in his ability to break it down in a simple way that I understood it.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
If you can't, Einstein's quote, if you cannot explain complex things to a child, you don't know it that well yourself. Absolutely. So there's no excuse for the gaming industry to hide behind things that say, "Oh, it's going to be in your natural vernacular."
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's been, in terms of the last thing I wanted to get in terms of now, if you have a child that's addicted to gaming, right, and you are worried, you are sincerely worried, you try and praise the child away from the console, are there any tips, any interventions that a parent can try and do to try and replace some of those habits that the addiction to the game, what can they actually do?
Okay, so again, this comes down to what do you do with your child anyway? Because it's not even just so much you want to try and break this habit of playing computer games. What do you do with your child anyway? Can you get your child out of the house? Do you ever take your child out of the house? Because whatever is the simplest thing that you can start with, that's what you got to start with. If you are the type of person that takes your child to the cinema and maybe like once in a year, to break this habit, take them to the cinema. Yeah, you got to distract them from that to show them that there's other things out there. Sure. But if you don't do these kind of things, you got to understand you're going to be up against a huge amount of resistance. Recently, if you're in the UK, the NHS is now intervening when it comes to things like game addiction because it's now recognized. It's recognized as a gaming disorder as opposed to the term game addiction. And you have to exhibit the behaviors that are classified under the ICD, which is ICD-10 is the International European Convention for Classification for Diseases. And this would be classed as a disease, a mental health disease in most cases.
Sure. And obviously the interventions, if you go the medical model, might include medication. It might include some more evasive interventions, or even softer ones like graded exposure, take the child out, whatever it is.
Talking therapies, those kind of things.
Talking therapies, replacing those habits with more healthier ones.
Productive habits.
It's not to stop the child from gaming,
but reducing the amount of time that they actually spend on the game.
Exactly. And Everton, you brought it home quite well in a sense of you brought it back to the parents in terms of what can they do? What do they actually do with the child? Okay. So Everton, this has been a epic mic drop session. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was illuminating. There were so many things I didn't know about, even though I felt I was a competent gamer. But,
you are a competent gamer.
No.
You should see this guy play Ghouls and Ghosts.
Those days are far gone. This is the only guy who can actually say he broke my finger by remote, by proxy. By proxy.
Should never challenge me on Pro Evolution football.
Yeah. So I wish you all the best, and you guys out there. Hopefully you found this really informative as I did, and have a powerful, motivation-driven weekend. Do your research on Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Christmas, all of that, okay? The things you can do, all right? So don't feel like you're totally helpless, okay?
There was one thing I was going to say, because there was one question that you raised. You said, what could parents do about buying games on Cyber Mondays? Yeah. Okay, parents... Yeah.
Buy a playbook.
yeah, you'll find it on his website. the Amazon code is going to be on there also. There are games that, Nintendo did the Brain Age type of games and all that kind of stuff. And I know some kids don't find it fashionable.
I didn't either. I played it for the drop off was so quick. I was like, wow, my brain is buzzing. I'm learning so much cool stuff. I put it down and do you know what? It's gathering dust somewhere now.
Because we're evolving creatures. So we do not sit. And this is one of the funny things about gaming is that there aren't a lot of games that you can sit down and play over and over and over again. Do you see what I mean? So, what I'm trying to say to you is this: there are games out there that are more functional for your children, and your children will probably be more expert at these games than you are. But the question I was going to pose to Douglas originally was, how do you know what's a good film? You tend to watch YouTube. You look at the trailers. Parents, use the tools that are out there. Look at that game, examine it before. Just type in the name, look on YouTube. If you think the game is too violent, stop the access before the child actually gets there.
Excellent advice. And on that note,
you are so much more. MikeDropClub.com.
That's right.
Make life boom.
Look out for all the information on the show notes. If you want to get hold of Everton Barton, have more advice on gaming addiction, and all things games, look out for the information on the show notes. We're out.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out MikeDropClub.com and get the show notes and useful links. Subscribe to the podcast. Don't just live life. Make life boom.